Welcome back my YouTube channel. The aircraft had been sitting in silence for years, broken and forgotten at the edge of a remote airfield. Its once shining fuselage was now faded, scarred by fire, impact, and time. To most people, it looked like nothing more than twisted metal. But to a small restoration team, it was a story waiting to be told again. This plane had survived a crash landing. Not a dramatic explosion in the sky, but a hard, terrifying descent that ended with the aircraft sliding across the ground, tearing its landing gear apart and damaging the wings. Everyone on board survived, but the aircraft was written off and left behind. That is where its second life began. The restoration started with silence and inspection. Engineers walked slowly around the wreck, touching the skin of the aircraft, noting every crack, every burn mark, every rivet that had failed. They didn't rush. A crashed airplane holds secrets, and if you miss one, it can cost lives later. Every panel was photographed, every measurement recorded. Inside the cockpit, dust covered the instruments. The control yoke was bent, and warning labels were peeled and yellowed. Yet the heart of the aircraft was still there. The flight controls were intact. The structure, though damaged, had not lost its soul. The first major task was disassembly. Wings were carefully removed inch by inch. Damaged sections of the fuselage were cut away with precision tools, sparks lighting the dark hangar. This was not destruction, it was surgery. Each removed piece was labeled, studied, and either repaired or replaced. The engines came next. These engines had absorbed massive stress during the crash, and no one trusted them blindly. They were taken apart down to the smallest components. Blades were checked for microscopic cracks. Bearings were replaced. Anything that raised even a slight doubt was discarded. In aviation, almost safe is the same as unsafe. While mechanics worked on metal, electricians rewired the aircraft from the inside out. Old cables were pulled, new ones carefully routed. Modern systems replaced outdated electronics, giving the aircraft a blend of old identity and new reliability. Slowly, the cockpit began to look alive again. Screens lit up. Switches clicked with confidence. The wings returned first. Rebuilt, reinforced, and stronger than before, they were mounted back onto the fuselage. Every bolt was torqued to exact specifications. Every seal was pressure tested. The aircraft was no longer a wreck. It was becoming a machine again. The landing gear followed. This time, it was stronger, redesigned with lessons learned from the crash. Hydraulics were tested again and again. Up, down, lock, release, repeat. The team refused to move forward until every cycle was perfect. Then came the paint. Layers of primer covered the scars of the past. Fresh white paint reflected the hangar lights, hiding years of damage beneath a clean surface. New markings were added, not to erase history, but to honor survival. This plane had fallen, and risen again. Before flight, the aircraft had to prove itself on the ground. Engines were started for the first time in years. The sound filled the airfield, deep and powerful. Vibrations were monitored. Temperatures watched. Everyone held their breath, listening not just with ears, but with experience. Taxi tests followed. The aircraft rolled slowly, then faster, responding smoothly to controls. Brakes engaged perfectly. Steering was precise. For the first time since the crash, it moved with purpose. Finally, the day of the test flight arrived. The pilot walked around the aircraft one last time, running a hand along the fuselage. He knew its past. He respected it. As he climbed into the cockpit, the hangar crew stepped back, watching quietly. The engines roared. The aircraft accelerated down the runway. And then, gently, it lifted into the air. There was no applause, only relief. Up in the sky, the plane flew clean and steady. Controls were responsive. Systems behaved exactly as designed. It was no longer a crashed airplane. It was an aircraft again. This restoration was never just about metal and machines. It was about proving that with knowledge, patience, and respect for aviation, even something broken can fly again. Every restored aircraft carries a message that failure does not always mean the end, and that learning from the past is what keeps the future safe. As the aircraft landed smoothly and rolled back toward the hangar, the team finally smiled. The plane had come home, not as a wreck, but as a survivor.